Okay, first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to Earl over at Spiritual Initiate, hooking me up with the dope ass sweater. I'm your host, Keith, man of letters, knowledge, information, entertainment. You guys know how we do it. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, introduce yourselves. We got a cool thing going here. It's chill. I talk about things from all over the place with a cool spin. I come in a little hot sometimes on typical spirituality things. I tend to repeat myself a lot. My bad. Whoops. Anyway, check it out. When it comes to manifestation and law of attraction and how to manifest more money and how to attract the perfect partner, I got to give credit to Gem Goddess for elucidating this. And I thought, oh, that's right. That's the whole reason why I'm here, is to have this sort of conversation. This is why I'm here, to have the sort of conversation that I'm about to have with you guys specifically. This is my niche. This is my contribution to the world. And it's your lack of attracting things, which is a terrible word to use, isn't because you're not lighting enough special candles. It's not because you're not using the right essential oils. It's not because these are things. These are just embellishments to the process. Who you are as a person, your sort of core operating force, like how you feel on a day-to-day basis. That's what drives things. Let me give an example. When I transplant trees and I get to watch them bloom, when I see the first flush of mushrooms pop out of the soil, when I just ate some radish, I made some tacos and I picked some radish from the backyard that we grew and I chopped them up in a little piece and I ate the radishes with the taco. Like, to me specifically, doing the things that I love day in and day out, and not just being heady about things, but going through the motions of the happiness, that puts me in a state that makes me buzz. Right? So a second ago, I told you I wanted to take away the word manifestation. Right? Drop that shit. It's not manifesting. It's not attracting. We have things come into our sphere constantly. What makes them stay there is whether or not they match who you are. That's what it is. Nothing is being pulled towards you, or at least that's not the basic operating nature. It's like sometimes things get pulled towards you. Of course, there's such thing as attraction, but in this conversation, people come into your life, circumstances come into your life, behavior. We'll go even closer to that. Thoughts come into your mind, feelings come into your soul. Your physical body does physical actions, right? Your mind, body, and spirit undergo certain experiences. And some of them stay and some of them go. Whether you decide on those things staying or leaving determines what else stays in your sphere. That's what it is. Resonance. The repetitive vibrations of neighboring objects with similar frequencies, with matching frequencies. They stimulate each other. If you know a person that's super into plants, because I'm stoked about this shit. So imagine if I'm at a party, I talk to 8 different people. The one that talks about Bursera or frankincense plants is the one that I'm going to talk to the longest. Guaranteed. Why? Because it's it's matching vibrations in the form of we both dig plants, specifically Bursera, which kept that person literally in my sphere. Now that's a very crude, physical third dimension of what I'm trying to express, which is you just gotta do the shit that you love to do. You gotta as much as have the conversations that you want to have. You know what I mean? It sounds simple. It sounds like, I guess the tough part is that there's a lot of things out there that give us satisfaction, but don't necessarily make us happy. It's like a quick dopamine fix. And I mean, like, I've been playing a lot of video games lately, and I've always been a gamer. I love playing video games, but they don't give me a lasting sort of happiness. Like, I can't base my I can't base my existence on this world and the power that I put out, the frequency that I project in order to maintain a certain resonance in my sphere. I can't depend on video games. Some of you can. I'd say you're a Twitch streamer, or you're a video game developer, or like video games are somehow your passion, your life. That's a different story. To each his own, to each her own. That's where you come in. That's why it's hard to have the conversation of good or bad, because sometimes video games could be that. Sometimes not. It's objective and subjective at the same time. We've had this conversation a bunch. Anywho, if you want things to stay in your life, you have to be those things. You have to, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night, you have to do your best to buzz with the things that you love, so that when new things start coming into your sphere, they stay. Yeah. Like, I don't care if you're the most downtrodden person in the world. Beautiful moments will happen to you on the daily, more or less. And I don't care if you're the most elevated, happy, beautiful soul on the planet. Most happy-go-lucky, genuine, sincere. You really got your shit dialed in spiritually. That on a day, that frequently you will be bombarded with the exact opposite. The difference is what you allow to stay inside of your circle. Right? It's just like being strong or being courageous isn't the lack of fear. Being courageous is specifically having fear present and acting otherwise. Otherwise, it's not a courageous thing to go through the world doing things that don't scare you. Like, if I love video games, or if I say I love roller coasters. I love roller coasters. It's not courageous for me to go on a roller coaster. Someone who's afraid of roller coasters would look at me and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe, like, oh, you're so brave." It's like, no, there's nothing brave about me going on a roller coaster. I love roller coasters. If I was afraid of roller coasters and I went on them in spite of, that makes me brave. And that's how we sort of have to see this sort of weird manifestation, attraction, frequency, resonance. It's like you're constantly being invaded by the external world. And what sticks to you is what you are. So if you're fucking up and you're holding on to some resentment, you're holding on to some sticky darkness, the synchronistic sticky darkness that happens to find your way into your sphere sticks to you, and it doesn't leave. So you could say, "Oh, why am I attracting all these terrible things?" It's like, you're not attracting terrible things. Things are happening to you on all scales at all the time. It's just that the negative things are sticking to you because you've somehow managed to dwell in that world, live by the sword, die by the sword type of thing. That's why it's important to, not gossip. Not that I gossip, we all gossip, but to acknowledge that you're gossiping is to sort of, it's hard to explain that nuance, but to acknowledge when you're doing something wrong is to sort of break the spell a little bit, to break the karmic debt a little bit. It changes the whole energy. You become a witnesser of the gossip as compared to one who gossips. You know what I mean? It's tricky, but nonetheless, play with the darkness, look into the abyss long enough, it looks back. It's one of those things. Anywho, hopefully I'm not rambling too much. Point being, if I get you guys to close your eyes for a second and see your electromagnetic field, that thing your heart generates. You see it in all the pictures. The Earth has the EM sphere as well. So imagine that thing stretching out. Now your body's pumping out information into that sphere. You have a thought, it pumps out into that sphere. Something happens to you, you have a reaction to that thought, it happens in your sphere. You feel pain, it's in your sphere. Anything that you experience becomes your electromagnetic field that extends out into the greater world and sort of interacts with everyone else's electromagnetic field. So you have that. Yeah, that's your powerhouse. Now just imagine that if yours is a little bluish, that other blue ones that touch your blue sphere are going to tickle your fancy a little bit. You're going to be like, ooh, another familiar energy. We like familiarity. Ooh, it's comforting because I know it. It's not foreign to me. All right, so we want to make sure that sort of projection that we have, that bubble that we're creating for ourselves, stays the color, stays the texture, stays the feeling that we want, knowing that whenever someone else comes to us and sort of mixes with it, that say theirs is red, right? Say they have a lot of bitterness and resentment and anger. They have this weird muddy red aura to them, and then they come to you and they mix on yours, and some of their red muddiness mixes in with your blue. If your blue's powerful, like a nice powerful blue, it's your blue will win. It'll filter out, it'll disperse it. But if you let that red stay for a little bit, what it does is it starts to trigger. You let someone else's bitterness, you let someone else's aggro sit with you too long by thinking about it too much, by entertaining their thoughts too much, by taking on their energy too much. It'll start to trigger all your reds. Because you have reds, you have greens, you have all the hues in you. You are everything all at once. The chickens are clucking at me. You have everything all at once. But it triggers things inside of you. So you hang out with those reds too much, you start to become red. All the things that piss you off, all the ex-lovers that did you wrong, or ex-friends that did you wrong, or all the anxieties that you have about the future, they start to come up. They're reinforced by the people around you, reinforced so much to where you start to match their vibration. And slowly, right, because your sphere is going to influence theirs is going to influence yours, right? We're not above mixing with people. That's why it's important that everything you do should reinforce your aura. What I'm trying to do is practically, literally, as a visual, is to get you guys to imagine that sphere of yours, imagine the color, and imagine the texture, and imagine the feeling of it. And every time you let a thought in, it changes the color a little bit. Every time you let a feeling in, it changes the color a little bit. That's why it's important to acknowledge things, but not to hang on to them. Not ignore them altogether, but to acknowledge them, right? Because you take power away from something when you know it. That's why we're so afraid of things that we don't know, because we're afraid of the unknown. But at the moment you learn about something, the fear loses its power over you. I used to be afraid of thunderstorms when I was a kid. Lightning. Like, what the fuck is that? So I learned, like, what is it? Oh, lightning. It's just, does that? Oh, it's just this, and electricity, and two differentiating potentials in the clouds and the atmosphere, and it connects. Like, oh, it's right. Some people will say, stop explaining things because you're taking the magic out. That's like the dark side of it. Different conversation. I just. It's so easy. Or not that it's easy, but it's as easy as me sitting on this chair next to this tree with a glass of tea and some oregano and burning it and watching the sunset to charge my battery, to charge my sphere of influence that interacts with you guys as you watch this video, with the people that I would sit down next to on a park bench. Like, this is me charging up my manifestation power. Just sitting here. And that's what I mean by how simple it can be. It's hard to slow down, for sure. It's hard to slow down and to pull yourself out of the rat race and to reorient yourselves, because we got to grind. And sometimes we need to be hella A-type, masculine, super overly focused, and like, because we need a goal accomplished. Like, there's a time and place for everything. Don't get me wrong, but it's just remembering that, like, all right, we can chill. I don't have to spend $100 on all these fucking ritualistic trinkets to be happy. I don't. I can sit here and enjoy a sunset and call it. So, I guess find your guys' power place. I hope this video was useful. If it was, feel free to share it with the homies. And subscribe if you're new. Introduce yourselves. I do love getting new people in here and new dialogues and conversations. It's how we learn and shit. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the Patreon. Thank you for buying from my Etsy shop. Thank you guys for sharing my content. Thank you guys for showing up and supporting. I appreciate the help. Thanks, Earl, for the dope sweater. And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, take it easy.